Hi everyone, this is part two in a series I have on the Wingman AI editor. So in the previous video, we went through configuring Wingman. What are the configuration settings here? What do they do? And of course, we do have tooltips and documentation on our website for this as well. But I wanted to just kind of walk through things and give a detailed example without having to go read a bunch of stuff. Again, Wingman, it's an open source project. It's not funded. I don't have things running behind my own API where I can obfuscate these settings for you. So, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, these are kind of up to the user to configure and kind of make into, tweak the settings as they see fit. So in this video, we have an empty workspace here, and a workspace in VS Code is just going to File, Open Folder. So as long as I have a folder open, so I have one open called Athletic Wear, and effectively I'm going to create a new project here, and I'm going to just open my settings again so you can see. I'm using Claude, Sonnet 7 3.7, and I have thinking and raw mode enabled, right? So now thinking and raw mode are great for like setting up a new project, right? Because it's reasoning and it's being as thorough as possible here. So what we're going to do before we start is talk real quickly about threads here. So the way threads work is pretty much like what you would think for a chat experience and a thread of a chat. So as soon as I type in here and I hit enter and I send it to the AI provider, a new thread automatically gets created. I can create a thread explicitly as well, and you can branch threads. And branching threads is a pretty useful concept, and we'll talk about that a little bit here. But let's get started. All right, so let's give it some instructions here, and I wanted to just kind of move the camera over to this other corner so you can actually see me type. Um, but I'm going to say create a new web, oops, can't type, web app. Let's just try to kind of be generic here for my athletic wear company called Movement Inc. The website should feature various products. I'm trying to like design, a quick website here to see. It should feature various products and allow the user to filter and search through them. Make up fake products. Get creative. So we'll send it through and you'll see that this thread here is active and I can rename the thread. It will use kind of my first message and truncate it as the name of the thread. And I can also branch the thread. You can also visualize the thread too. So if you have a bunch of threads and you've branched, you can see the connections between them and other threads here, which is nice if you had a bunch of threads. I kind of like to clean them up. I don't just like let them go forever and ever and ever because, a lot of times, the concepts behind the threads might change, right? So you can see it kind of working here. You can see it searching in the directory. It's executed some commands. You can look at the command output. So it's using Vite here. You can see it editing files, and you can see that it's in vibe mode, so it's just auto selecting the files. Again, it's in thinking and like the unconstrained mode. So it's very interesting to kind of watch it because it's doing a lot of work, right? Like creating a site from scratch is not a small task, right? So, you'll see it kind of incrementally think through things, make directories, look at files. Sometimes it revisits a file, more than once. That happens. Like sometimes it'll implement a feature and then go back to the file and, apply a new edit to the file. So the cool thing is that it'll show you the diff and the breakdown. You can click on the files too and open them directly. When they're accepted, they are written to disk. And if you don't want to use undo, there's also the diff button directly. So they do perform two separate actions. So undo is reverting the file to the state when the edit started. And then the diff allows you to revert the file to essentially what was on disk, right? So that's the comparison you see. So this is basically a new file. So when I hit diff, it'll be basically showing me, hey, it's going to delete everything because there was no file. It's a brand new file. If I hit undo, effectively that file didn't exist. So it'll do the same thing in this case. But as you're kind of continuously going and you are, editing files in the same file multiple times, there's distinct reasons why you would want to use one or the other. So if you've edited a file 30 times, right, you could go up in the chat history and you could say, you know what, I want to take the state of that file when before this edit happened, or I have this file here and I want to revert to to what was changed by the AI comparing to what's currently on disk, right? So if I have an edit and it adds hello world, and then I have an edit that says goodbye world, if I went up and I hit the diff button, it would say, hey, I'm going to, remove goodbye world because this edit added hello world. So again, there are two distinct things where the undo button is kind of dynamic, right? And it's a little bit of a weird concept because it's hard to know like what do you expect in each circumstance, right? As the user, so as the user, you want to have the ability to undo changes, but you want to be able to travel back in time and undo changes and see those changes based on a specific state, right? So again, this is all captured within a thread here. So as it's kind of working away on the site and it's done a whole bunch of edits, I can come in here and I could, once it's finished, I could branch the thread and I can have a thread that the whole context, right? Everything you see here is oriented around creating the project, right? But I might want to branch this and I might say, ooh, you know what? I want to try a different bundler, right? Or I don't know, something like that, right? And it'll take that context with it. You can also just create a new thread and start from scratch, or you can clear the thread as well and start from scratch. Um, Now, obviously, if I clear it while this is running, it's gonna keep, putting to the window. So I would want to stop it. But in this case, I'm gonna let it go ahead and finish, and we'll see kind of what it makes in terms of the website. And you can go here and you can see all of the files and everything that it's creating, and we'll just kind of let it finish up here. And again, you can look at, so look, it tried to remove it because it decided it's using Tailwind v4 and it doesn't want to use the old syntax. So it wanted to go remove the file. So it knows that it can't, it's been blocked. So it'll go in and you can see that it's, basically remove the file. And again, this looks like this because this was the old state, right? So I'm using the diff here, and before it wrote this file, so it removed 42 lines. So if you want to revert it, you'd add back these 42 lines. So that's why the diff here looks like that, right? Because it's already accepted. It's in a finalized state. So now it'll kind of go through and it'll work through the rest of, the commands here. It'll work through the rest of the file edits, and then we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so as we get near the end of the generation here, we could see that it will go through and try to double check that like the application can build successfully. If there are errors here, it will go in and try to fix them. So it did try to generate something with this background opacity setting here, and it went through and it said, hey, you know what, that didn't work, and it's going to go ahead and try to fix it. Yeah, so the product component, this referenced it as well. So it's going in, it's trying to fix that. And it looks like it's trying to fix the footer component. And hopefully after this, it runs. So it looks like it already installed for us, which is good. And it's using Vite, so we can just run the dev command once it completes here. So we're going to go ahead and launch here. It's still kind of working on things. We can see that this is the site that it generated here. And I didn't really give it kind of any guidance on like, hey, this is what it should look like, or this is what it should support or not support, or colors or schemes, um, and all of that, right? So it's going in here, and like I said, it generated all of this. So I can come in here, and I did ask it to make products filterable. You can see the pretty much everything works. I don't know how many pages it created though. And sometimes like not every link works, right? So like about might not be built yet. Um, it did go through its round of fixes here, so it looks like it just sanity checked that the build was fine. We already know that, obviously. Um, and it's just, checking the package JSON. And it just kind of gives you a summary of like, hey, look, this is what I did. And you can see that, the site itself is, I mean, is pretty good. Right? I mean, obviously there's no photos here. And, we can't, rely on it to do like every little detail in one single prompt. But this is, pretty much where it got to here. I don't think search works. But it's a pretty respectable site. I mean, I think that this is a pretty common, layout here. This is like something you would expect in a modern website. Um, even to see, I mean, to be honest, to see a kind of one shot, being able to come in and filter and do these types of things. And again, it might not all be like perfect, right, in one single prompt, but this is a pretty respectable starting point, right? And going back to Wingman, so obviously this is done, and you could go in, you could see all the edits, all the commands that it run or it ran, and again, you could branch. So like, I went ahead and created a new branch here. I'll show you. You could see the visualization, how this branch is a parent of this branch, and it'll take the branch and give it a name. And you could start here. You can also delete this branch if you want and just go back to the original branch. So this is all pretty cool functionality. You add in the Wingman rules thing, and you can really kind of guide it more on what it needs to do, because rules are included in every prompt. And you can use the rules to do a lot of advanced things, right? You could have it commit to get for you, right? Run the get command. So you can have it do a commit, you could have it do a push, you could have it write a summary file to a folder, right? So like here, just as an example, I can say Wingman rules. I'll just say edit rules. After every file edit, keep a running summary of your changes in the, uh, yeah, we'll just say like slash docs folder as a .md file. File should contain a summary of features and help describe the application and how it integrates together. Something simple like that, but I can create it, just drop it in the root here, and then I can say add an uh, add a contact us page. So I'll ask it to go ahead and add a contact us page, and we'll keep these rules here. So we'll see it as it goes through and it edits. It will create this new contact us page. It'll go back to the original app page, and it will look to do an integration. So you can see now it's got, again, this is a revert, right? But you can see it added the contact page. And if we weren't in auto accept mode, if we were in the non-vibe mode, manual mode, then we would be able to go through, look at the diff beforehand and manually accept it. But right now, I'm just letting it run wild. 3.7, Sonnet 3.7 is amazing. I don't believe a lot of the FUD out there I see on social media about 3.5's much better. I think it's about how you prompt it. And I think, if you go into Wingman and you turn off raw mode, it will really kind of focus on what it's doing. So in this particular case, go wild, do what you need to do, because it's creating large sweeping integration changes, and it's really good at that out of the box. But if I'm like narrowly focusing it, I'll probably turn off vibe mode, turn it off, turn off raw mode, and save it, and just go in and manually look at the changes, right? Course correct if I need to, things like that. So we'll see that our rules took effect here, and we'll see that it'll go and it'll make a docs folder. So right now it just made that directory. It's probably going and generating the file for it right now and writing it to that directory. And again, this doesn't have to be built into the editor, right? I don't have to build this into Wingman. You can do this through rules, right? So you can see kind of what it created here, and if you want to look at fancy preview of it, and you could enhance the rules to say like, hey, look, before you start any work, go ahead and read this file in and use it as context. So some AI editors advertise this as like a unique feature, and this is something that their thing does out of the box. But you can tell Wingman to do it, right? You can modify it yourself. You can extend it through rules. So again, get crafty if you need inspiration. Look at something like Cursor. And again, this is our new contact us page. So this is pretty well made, interactive map in a production environment. So what's really cool here is that Wingman, it's open source, right? You could see the source code. I do plan on doing videos about how I built it. But you have full control over your quality, right? You're not sitting behind somebody's API where they're trying to figure out how to keep you at $20 a month in the subscription, and they're pushing you to cheat models or things like that, right? Use the good models, right? Pay the extra couple of dollars. If you're really making something serious, right? Don't worry about the artificial restrictions of some other editor, some other product out there. Those products too, they record your code right on a server, right? So if you're worried about your IP or something, I definitely would not use them. I would not want my company's code in some random third party servers. You already got to send it to the API provider. And I believe Anthropic, they don't train on your code. So Anthropic is a pretty safe one. I think OpenAI was there, but some of their terminology, I think, was like if you're like a subscription or something like that. I don't know. Anthropic has a better code model anyways, so I don't use OpenAI. But again, in my opinion, if you want just unrestricted, raw model output, the ability to tune, no, funny business with APIs and balancing and auto model select and all those things. I think Wingman is a great choice. It doesn't, again, there's no back end, so it's not storing your code, doesn't put your code anywhere. The embedding and indexing stuff is on your machine. I hope you enjoyed the video here. Again, this was just kind of a quick walkthrough, generating a site from scratch and just trying to see what it would do. Some of the configuration stuff, again, I covered in a previous video, but if you enjoyed the content, again, I will make more videos in the future. I will talk about how I created this, and really there's not much of a limit anymore with things like MCP tooling and having your own rules file and what you can do and how you can extend the experiences in the editors out of the box. Thanks for watching.